Cruises, welcome aboard the Matthew Hayes. As we prepare to depart, please take a seat. The engines powering the vessel today are Tier 2 compliant, clean diesel technology. They were installed in 2011 through a partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. These engines reduce fuel consumption, diesel particulate matter, and both carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxide emissions. This vessel is equipped with all U.S. Coast Guard required safety features. We'd like to take a moment to familiarize you with all of them. On board, you'll find adult and child light attached. Fire extinguishers are located throughout the vessel, and a fire station is located on the main deck behind the bar. In the unlikely event of an emergency, the captain and crew will implement the vessel's safety procedures. Please follow all instructions given by the crew. Please do not stand on the benches. Do not climb or sit on the exterior railings, and please do not gather near the exits. For any further safety questions, please ask a uniformed crew member. Our cruise today will take us on the Potomac River, which is a tributary of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. These bodies of water are undergoing environmental restoration. To meet Coast Guard requirements and to protect our valued marine ecosystem, please be environmentally conscious and do not throw anything overboard. Our concession will open momentarily. Thank you.
Just one, and it intersected a busy road. Guards had to stop automobile traffic every time a plane took off or landed. How far we've come.
Creating what was Washington National Airport and is now Reagan Airport was no easy task. Most of what you see now was underwater. The entire area had to be dredged and then filled in with massive amounts of sand and gravel to form the runways. When it opened in 1941, the airport served about 350,000 passengers a year. Now, we're talking 18 million. It's one of the nation's busiest airports, with planes taking off and landing every 30 seconds during peak hours.
The original terminal, Terminal 8, has its intersected to tobacco fields, cornfields, bluffs, and wetlands, which has now been transformed into the bustling metropolis we see today.
The Washington Monument is an orientation point. You can see it from almost anywhere in the city. At its completion, it was the tallest structure in the world, only to be surpassed by the Eiffel Tower a year later. The Washington Monument is still the tallest freestanding stone structure in the world. A tribute to George Washington was proposed in his lifetime, but it would take decades of off and on construction to complete the Washington Monument. Due to funding shortages and the Civil War, it didn't open to the public until 1888. Those construction delays are responsible for the different shading of marble seen about a third of the way up the structure. The stones for the monument all came from the same quarry, but from different sections within the quarry.
The Washington Monument is among the district's collection of memorials, statues, plaques, and tributes of all kinds. Each symbolizes the strength and the stability of the nation. This doesn't mean that the nation is static, as new memorials are always in the works.
What does it take to establish a memorial in the nation's capital? Patience, for one. A memorial needs congressional approval, the signature of the president, a design concept, fundraising efforts, and the site selection before groundbreaking can begin. The process takes years. Memorials are usually sponsored by non-profit organizations or citizens groups and built with private funds. Newer memorials in military installations, Anacostia Naval Air Station, and Bolling Air Force Base merged into this single base.
Up until the 1960s, there were runways where you now see houses. Planes were eventually forced to stop flying in and out of the base because of the massive air traffic from Logan National Airport, which is across the river. Even though airplanes no longer operate here, a lot of training and testing of military aircraft still takes place.
Military employees and their families live on the base, hence all the homes. In many ways, it's an ordinary community with restaurants, shops, and playgrounds, maybe a bit like yours. Except we bet that your neighbors don't walk around in fatigues and salute each other.
You may have noticed a large silver building. This is the DIA. That's DIA, not CIA. DIA stands for the Defense Intelligence Agency. What's the difference? Well, they both share a common goal of protecting the U.S. against foreign and domestic threats. The Central Intelligence Agency mostly focuses on providing intelligence to the President and his cabinet, while the Defensive Intelligence Agency provides intel for military operations and combat-related missions. In 1941. Today, a memorial stands in the exact spot where the attack occurred. It's made up of 184 stainless steel benches, each one set atop a small reflecting pool to honor every individual who perished in the attack. As horrific as the attack was, it could have been much worse. Many of the offices on the west side of the building were under renovation and empty. It was also the only side of the Pentagon built with steel reinforcements.
Then, finally, at the far end of the mall is the U.S. Capitol. In these ceremonial spaces, history, culture, and nature come together. People come together here too. There's no more prominent place than the National Mall to march for justice, civil rights, and human rights.
How do you get to the White House? Well, you could run for office. No, if you simply want to have a look, it's just north of the Washington Monument.
Honor the sacrifice of the 5.8 million Americans who served in the armed forces. The memorial was created in 1995 by someone who knew about war, Frank Gable, a World War II veteran. Adjacent to the Korean War Memorial is the United Nations Wall. It commemorates all 22 nations who contributed troops to the Korean War effort.
You can also visit the World War II Memorial, which honors the heroism of the 16 women who served in uniform and the Women's War who supported the war effort from the home front. Many of you may be wondering where a memorial to World War I is. In 2017, nearly a century after the end of the War to End All Wars, groundbreaking took place for a national memorial.
Located between the Arlington Memorial Bridge and the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge are the impressive Watergate steps, which lead up to the magnificent Lincoln Memorial. There's nothing scandalous about these Watergate steps. They were originally envisioned as a dramatic entrance into the city for VIPs arriving by boat.
The Lincoln Memorial is fashioned after an ancient Greek temple and surrounded by 36 Doric columns, one for each state in the Union at the time of Abraham Lincoln's death. The memorial was dedicated in 1922. Lincoln's only surviving son, Robert Todd Lincoln, was in attendance.
Inside is a stirring marble statue showing the 16th president in contemplation. If the statue looks more than a little lifelike, it's because Lincoln's hands and face were based on a cast made while he was still
The
alive.
National Park Service calls it historical graffiti.
The memorial has become a gathering place for groups demanding social and racial justice. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech on the steps. In 2011, Dr. King got a memorial of his own. It's no accident it's located within view of the Lincoln Memorial.
If art is to nourish the roots of our culture, society must set the artist free to follow his vision wherever it takes him. In tribute to the President's lifelong support of the arts is the striking Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, designed after the great concert halls of Europe.
The building is deceiving in size. It's large enough that the Washington Monument laid on its side would fit inside with room to spare. It houses 6 separate concert halls. For one of the halls, the architect imported marble from Italy that was cut from the same quarry Michelangelo used for his masterpiece sculptures.
President Lyndon Johnson turned the first shovelful of earth at the construction site in 1964. It was no ordinary shovel, but the same gold-plated shovel used in groundbreaking ceremonies for the Lincoln and Jefferson memorials. The Kennedy Center opened in 1971, and at the request of former First Lady Jackie Kennedy, Leonard Bernstein wrote and performed a requiem mass honoring the late president.
It is a very busy place. This cultural hub hosts about 3,000 events a year. It's home to the National Symphony Performing Arts has added a destination for living theater. Visitors can now immerse themselves in the creative process in a variety of indoor and outdoor spaces.
Some said it reminded them of a graceful ocean liner. Others said it was just kind of clunky and out of place on the waterfront. But all discussions of design stopped in 1972 when a burglary took place at the offices of the Democratic National Committee here at the Watergate. The investigation led straight to the highest office of power, the President of the United States. President Richard Nixon.
Where we going this time?